A-level girl, uh, A-level girl jumps car and vanishes. The father of a 17-year-old Melanie Coe, the schoolgirl who seemed to have everything, searching for her in London and Brighton. Paul McCartney picks up a newspaper and reads this headline. While he reads a story about a runaway girl, he becomes inspired and writes a song. The song is called "She's Leaving Home." This song is very touching and is one of his better works. Little did Paul know that the girl he made the song about, he had actually met 3 years prior. Melanie Coe won the first place prize on the UK show Ready Steady Go, which he awarded to her, and by coincidence he happened to make a song about her. This eerie story is now part of pop music legend. Becoming of the most influential band in music history is very storied from beginning to end. The Beatles comprised of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, who would change music forever. But it all started as a group of friends known as the Quarrymen, who were a skiffle of friends in Liverpool and led by John Lennon. In July of 1957, John Lennon and James Paul McCartney met for the first time. Paul would introduce George Harrison later that year. As the band performed around England, they would soon become a band rather than a skiffle, with the acquisition of Pete Best at the drums. In 1960, they also changed their name from the Quarrymen to the Beatles. The following year, the Beatles brought on Brian Epstein as manager. On January of 1962, the band auditioned for their first record deal with Decca Records in London. They would be turned down, but Epstein became furious and began looking elsewhere immediately. "You must be out of your minds. These boys are going to be huge. I am completely confident that one day they will be bigger than Elvis Presley," exclaimed Epstein. Soon after, they were rejected by Decca. The Beatles were introduced to George Martin of Parlophone Records, who was quoted as saying, "I've got nothing to lose." The only part of the Beatles Martin didn't like was the drummer Pete Best, so the Beatles were forced to drop him. After Best was dropped, they soon acquired Richard Starkey, aka Ringo Starr. They then signed a record deal with Parlophone Records in June of 1963. From the start of their record deal, the Beatles were breaking rules. Most pop groups at the time weren't writing their own songs, but Paul and John insisted. The unique style of them writing their own songs was very unconventional, but it proved to pay off. The group's first big hit would come in May of 1963 with the album Please Please Me and the single From Me to You, topping the British charts at number 1. Beatlemania was now spreading across the UK and Europe, with the US soon to follow. February 7, 1964, the Beatles touched down in JFK Airport. An estimated crowd of 4,000 Americans gathered to greet them. They performed live on the Ed Sullivan Show soon after they arrived, which had 73 million viewers, a new record for television. From February to June that year, the #1 spot on the American music charts was held by none other than the Beatles. Not only that, but on April 4th, 1964, the top 5 spots were all held by songs by the Beatles. From 1963 to 1966, Beatlemania spread across Western civilization, where the band would tour and sell millions of records. They were setting trends for men, and women adored them. The final tour was August of 1966. Beatlemania was a period where the Beatles were at their all-time peak in popularity, but soon to follow was some of their best work. Once the days of touring had subsided, the band began a curve in a new direction. The new songs had the same catchy tune, except they had a dark undertone and urgent appeal. This was especially apparent in the album Rubber Soul, which was way ahead of its time. They also experimented with Indian music, pushing the boundaries of pop and protruding into rock and folk music. LSD also became an influence over the group's later work. John and George initiated the idea of taking the drug, while all four would have a 3-year stint with the hallucinogenic. The effects led the Beatles into psychedelic rock, where they began to create songs which were very unique in sound and style, but they still brought the same craze to the fans. It opened my eyes, made me a better, more honest, more tolerant member of society, McCartney said on the subject of LSD. However, not only did Lennon and McCartney do drugs together, but up to this point, they had been writing all of their band songs together. Together, they jointly created 180 songs, with the most of them recorded with the Beatles. In an informal agreement as teenagers, the two agreed that they would give dual credit in all songs, even if one of them hadn't actually helped in writing it. Their partnership was in large part the reason why the Beatles were so successful. However, after the death of Brian Epstein in 1967, the band fell into turmoil. We collapsed. I knew that we were in trouble then. I didn't really have any misconceptions about our ability to do anything other than play music, and I was scared. I thought, we've had it now, Lennon recalled in an interview. At this point, the four members had lost hope, and a breakup was inevitable. In April of 1970, Paul McCartney left the band, and that was the end of the group. Even though they split up more than 40 years ago, the inspiration and influence still lives on. They were the first to write all of their own songs, and they also brought new ideas like concept albums, and they're also the inspiration to most artists to this day. To this day, their songs are still frequently listened to by avid fans and other people looking for a pleasant tune. What the Beatles did should be appreciated by everyone around the world, and they should earn more respect for what they've done for music, because music today would not be the same without them.